in this area until 1:24 Eastern. Take shelter now, U.S. govern. Reason for alert indeed. And the point is they're going to take over all means of communication, including the more recent types, cell phone and internet communication with their emergency alerts, which have other reasons as well. Now, Paul Joseph Watson has also written on the report that says Iran is about to practice closing the Strait of Hormuz. They're going to do a drill to close the key choke point that would send oil prices skyrocketing to $300 to $500 a barrel. More reason to think that a wider war could be beginning. Kurt Nimmo reports on whistleblower activist Sybil Edmonds warning that foreign military groups are amassing on the Jordan side of the Syrian border. U.S. NATO troops reported on Jordan's border with Syria. Of course, that country is under target as well. There's a covert war going on there, as well as in the wider part of the Middle East. We'll keep an eye on the geopolitical situation in the days to come. Meanwhile, Holder has essentially admitted that the Justice Department lied to Congress, said his little reasons about it's only a state of mind. Now they're discussing in the Daily Caller how Holder may be holding on to private emails about Fast and Furious. A largely overlooked exchange from Thursday's House Judiciary Committee includes what appears to be an admission from Attorney General Eric Holder that emails to and from him about Operation Fast and Furious may exist and that he's refusing to provide them to Congress. Just more reason he should be further questioned, fired, and probably prosecuted. Meanwhile, Attorney General Eric Holder's coming here to Austin, Texas, where we broadcast from, and Kurt Nimmo has written an article urging people to protest his appearance at the LBJ Library in Austin at their main auditorium there. Holds several thousand. It's apparently by invitation only, and he cites how Holder had a significant role in the Waco siege in the bombing of the Oklahoma City building and all the rest of it, all the nasty stuff he's been involved in. That's right, it's not just Fast and Furious. These criminals have a total track record, and that's why they're tapped time and again for government. That article, of course, up on Infowars.com if you're in the Austin area and want to show Holder what you think, peaceably, of course. And they will try to frame you and arrest you. We've all been through that as well. TSA recruiting junior officers at airports. At any rate, they have a fake TSA badge that says junior officer that they're giving out to kids. We got this tip from one of our great readers. And remember when you were growing up and wanted to be a police officer, firefighter, or public servant? Now the TSA appears to be tapping children for future recruits. Not only are young, impressionable flyers indoctrinated by the unconstitutional checkpoints themselves, but now by a subtle driver to join the team when they could someday get the power to conduct their own pat-downs and body scans. Just crazy what this world's coming to. Now, on the climate gate front, we've covered the meeting in South Africa in Durban, where they're trying to set up essentially a climate debt system. Now, Mark Morano, we've had him on the program from Climate Depot, writes that the South African activist has slammed the UN's Green Climate Fund as government-to-government aid is a reward for being better than anyone else and at causing poverty. It enriches the people who cause poverty. And he cites an activist by the name of Leon Liu, who said the UN Climate Fund will wreak havoc on the developing world's poor. Liu explained, the money goes to government, and governments spend it on, of course, themselves, meaning various government projects creating bigger departments, bigger bureaucracies. It's called big bureaucratic capture. They build empires, they build conference centers, and they buy political support. They go and distribute the money to communities where they want support and votes. Not only is the whole climate change issue a concocted fraud for greater world government control, but of course it's a fraud anyway for bureaucracy, for bad spending, all the stuff everyone's so upset about. Obviously, if they create a giant fund, they're just going to embezzle it and misappropriate it and so forth. But of course, the real reason we cover this story, awesome footage of leading Climate Gate critic Lord Monckton arriving at the South Durban Conference via parachute. Isn't this great? How old is he again? I forget. He's up there in age, though, and there he is having the time of his life and going to fight tyranny. Good for Lord Monckton. Really interesting guy to meet as well. Durban jump for climate truth. There he is with a tandem instructor, I would imagine, landing near the site of the conference where all the climate change people bring in their propaganda. So why shouldn't Moncton make a spectacle for truth? Yeah, pretty neat. In other news, Rand Paul is now criticizing the leading, or what the media tells us are the leading GOP potential nominees, Gingrich and Romney, saying they're not conservative. Of course, Rand Paul's father, Ron Paul, who's running for the nomination, is conservative. He slammed Romney, saying he had defended bailouts as necessary to keep the entire currency of the country worth something. My experience tells me that if we were on the precipice, we could have had a complete meltdown of our entire financial system, wiping out all the savings of the American people, so action had to be taken. No talk about reining in the Federal Reserve or the real causes of the bailouts or the inherent problem with giving money to the people who acted inappropriately. Meanwhile, current, quote, frontrunner Newt Gingrich claims to have changed his mind on TARP after having his ear bent by a number of, quote, very right-wing businessmen. Those unnamed advisors convinced Gingrich that the financial meltdown was a true crisis and the bailouts were necessary to prevent the financial system from suffering a heart attack. If nothing else, even if they're not conservative, there's certainly sellouts who will blow in the wind any which way the lobbyist money sends them. In Latvia, a country that's had a lot of issues, the largest bank fights off a depositor run after rumors of imminent collapse. It nationalized last month after regulators discovered evidence of massive fraud allegedly carried out by the bank's former owner. Depositors were deprived of access to their funds for days. We've seen this here in the United States with people who had their money in MF Global. Of course, it's happening worldwide, and I'm sure this is just the beginning. Of course, Latvia always has had problems, as I mentioned, but Norway, traditionally a very rich country, however, its butter shortage threatens Christmas treats, reads the headline in the AFP. An acute butter shortage in Norway, one of the world's richest countries, has left people worrying how to bake their Christmas goodies with store shelves emptied and prices through the roof. Now, this is just an example of what happens when there is a food shortage crisis. The